Alrighty, hi team, JT here. Good to have you for Module 1, Unlocking Potential, getting that resilience, confidence and grit. We're going to talk through how we can create that for you. So in this module, we're talking about what is resilience, how can you even grow it and develop it, but also even why it's important and the definition of resilience and how that operates and the impact it has on us on a day-to-day basis. To understand this concept is to really then go back to the three brains that we have in our head. Now, this is a very simplified version of the brain, but these three parts of the brain impact us quite a lot on our day-to-day basis and can also help us reach our potential, but also prevent us from reaching our potential. And so the first brain we talk about is the survival brain. Every living thing has this brain. It helps us breathe, it pumps the blood around our body. It also gives us the ability to protect ourselves. If a danger or a threat was to come onto us unexpectedly, we might fight or we might fly or flight. So that's where that response comes from. Our second brain is the emotional brain. We've called it the Hulk brain. We've called the first one Rambo, protect, survive, and the second one is Hulk. Now that's not just because you always get angry. You know, the Hulk has those two personalities. The normal guy during the day who's quite calm, who's just like any normal person, and then all of a sudden something can trigger them and he can change his personality obviously into the Hulk. But not just angry emotions, we can have all positive and negative emotions that we can switch in between in this emotional brain. And the last brain is our driver's brain, or our frontal cortex is the scientific name, but it's where all these executive functions lie. Okay, so we'll quickly just dig into what each of those brains look like, how they operate. As we mentioned, our Rambo brain protects us. Okay, it'll fly any type of threat that comes into you. It's just this automatic response. You have no time to think how you act. Just think about if you were to get a fright, you know, you walk around the corner and someone jumps out and scares you, how do you react? That's that fight or flight instinct. Emotional brain, anger, hate, frustration, anxiety, nervousness. Okay, also has love and caring in there. And we can change from being love and caring to frustration, anger in a split second. Those emotions are all in this brain. And then think of the driver's brain as an F1 driver. Imagine going at the speed they're going at. Imagine having to be focused and have clarity on your decision making. You have got no room for a mistake. You've got hazards, you've got threats coming all from either side of you at high speed. You can see them before it even happens. You can problem solve, plan, learn, and have perception all in a split second. That is the ability of our driver's brain. And they talk about, you know, in high performance sport or succeeding in sport, it's all to do with the top 2 inches, or these are the top 2 inches. You know, the All Blacks strive to stay in this brain as long as possible under intense pressure so you can think clearly. You can't think clearly when you're in the Hulk brain. If you're sad in the Hulk brain, if you're mad in the Hulk brain, if you're angry in the Hulk brain. Okay, so a brief overview, and again a simplified overview of our brain. Now I want to touch on an important process that we all have as human beings, and this is a key process that we need to understand and ultimately need to master in order to achieve our potential and unlock our potential. And so the stress response occurs when a threat or a stressor comes into our daily life. It could be something as simple as losing my keys and I'm running late for a meeting. Could be something more simple as my 3-year-old toddler throwing a tantrum in the middle of a supermarket. What are people going to think of me? That's a stress. Could be a car crash. Is obviously a stress. So when a threat or a stress comes into our life, something unique happens. And if it is perceived as a stress for you, then you go into stress response and we actually lose access to our F1 driver's brain, which means we're only operating out of our Hulk and Rambo brain. Okay, and for me, when if I lose something and I'm running late, or if someone offends me or cuts me off in traffic, that's a stressor, that's a threat, and my immediate reaction is to get angry, chase them, or blame others. Who's put my keys somewhere? I know I put them here. Who's touched them? And so the key to resilience, and the definition of resilience, is the ability to withstand difficult situations, threats or stressors, and then or recover quickly from those things. And what we're talking about here is the ability to withstand the threat, to stay in your F1 driver's brain. So imagine if you had multiple threats in your daily life. You know, you were running late, then you got a parking ticket, then you forgot your wallet when you went to get lunch, and now you're hungry and you're tired because your kids have woke you up early. Multiple threats. Are you able to withstand those threats and stay in your driver's brain? Or do we get into our Hulk brain? We might get sad. I get mad and angry. Now, if we do drop into our Hulk brain, the key is to then recover quickly and bounce back up into our F1 driver's brain. That's the resilience. I know when I was playing footy, I used to think resilience was being able to maintain those fitness sessions and just not give up. But if I was in my Hulk brain during that fitness session and I was angry and I was hating others and I was blaming the coach, yes, I could have given up. But ideally, we want to be in the F1 driver's brain to show pure resilience, because where we see opportunities, there we see the future, there we see planning and decision making. So we can have a quick look at ourselves and how resilient we are in certain situations using this graph. Along the bottom, it's the difficult situation rating, or a threat rating, or a stressor rating. And down the bottom left, it starts with, no hurt. Then you go to the bottom right and it goes hurts the most or hurts the worst. And so think of instances in your day that might pop up. Your coffee's cold when you get to work. Where in your brain do you go to? Do you go to survival mode and actually, where's my coffee? I need coffee, and just steamroll everyone else until you get your coffee? Are you angry or mad until you have that coffee? Or are you able to be in your F1 driver's brain and realize, hey, okay, I can easily make another one, or I can order one, or maybe I can borrow one, whatever. You can solve it in that F1 driver's brain. So have a think about your activities and instants during the day. Also, think about these guys. Nelson Mandela, all right, going to prison for 27 years. He might have started off emotional. He might have started off blaming others. He might have been mad. I'm not sure. But to come out of 27 years of being in prison and to do what he did, do you think he was in his driver's brain at any point? Do you think he had to rationalize or think logically? Do you think he had to plan? Do you think he had to problem solve? Do you think he had to look at it from a different point of view? Do you think he had to have empathy with others? Most definitely he had to bounce back into his driver's brain. What about Richie McCaw? Broken foot, 3 games to go in the World Cup here in New Zealand. He could have thrown the dummy, blamed others. He could have, just got really emotional and given up. Or do you think he was in his driver's brain strategizing, how can I get through this? I'm not even going to think about it. That's one way. I'm going to stay off it 4 days out of the 7 days in a week, etc. So definitely in his F1 driver's brain to overcome that difficult situation. And then this is Shannon Willoughby, who had 2 strokes before the age of 32, was a former black firm, played rugby and a pilot, lost her license, had to stop playing rugby. So she had 2 strokes. It probably hurt a lot. So it's down this end of the scale. Now, 9 times out of 10, 7 out of 10 of us would have behaved quite differently. We would have spat the dummy, would have tried to protect ourselves and stop playing footy. But she was able to stay in her driver's brain. She, during her recovery from this stroke, she was able to identify an online business, which now turns over 6 figures a year. She went back to rugby and got her pilot's license again. You have to be in your F1 driver's brain to go back and achieve that. She would have bounced back in there to achieve the things she did achieve. Okay, now why do we have this stress response? Why does it even exist? We're going to go back to the caveman days. Tony Robbins talks about our brain being 2 million years old. All right, and that survival brain was there to survive, to protect us. We had to protect ourselves from dinosaurs and animals. Every time we walked out of the cave, something was trying to kill us. We had, the weather to protect from. We had other species to protect ourselves from. That part of the brain is 2 million years old, protecting us. And we've still got that part of the brain. But what we don't have is any more dinosaurs. We don't have, we have got some bears rolling around, but we are lucky to have heaters for those. I know that everyone has them, but these threats that threatened us millions of years ago are a lesser of a threat. But we still have threats, and our brain can't differentiate, can't even say that word, can't tell the difference between a dinosaur and too much paperwork, between a raging bear and someone in our office backstabbing us, or restructure, our jobs are going to go. That's a similar threat. The brain can't tell the difference. And so we react the same. We get emotional. Again, sad, mad, angry, reclusive, whatever. You respond in a certain way when you're in stress response. Another threat is, again, our toddlers throwing a tantrum in the middle of the public. It's a threat on our reputation. It's a threat on what people think of us. And so we can get under stress and we can respond in our stress response, or we can stay in our F1 driver's brain and show pure resilience. And our kids these days obviously have these threats: social media, cyberbullying. And I chuck this one here with the Weet-Bix Triathlon. Great concept, but there's a threat because everyone gets something, everyone gets a medal, and when they go to another event, they expect a medal, and when they don't get it, stress. How do they respond? Can they have the resilience to understand and think in the F1 brain? Say, hey, I didn't win. I didn't come third, second, or first. I don't get one. So this is the key operating system that can dictate whether we reach our potential or not. Okay, think about the day, think about the events in the day and where you sit in those 3 brains. Okay, I want you to analyze your day and think about, do I go straight to my Hulk brain, or am I able to see that from a different point of view in my F1 driver's brain? Okay, and we can grow and develop this. It's like any other skill. It's like learning to drive. It's like learning to kick a ball. It's like learning a different language. Now that we know what the skill is, to withstand and stay in our driver's brain, or to recover quickly into our driver's brain. So first step is to become aware, okay, which is one of the tasks you're going to do this week. Second thing is we're going to actually practice it, okay, and it's pretty easy to practice it because life chucks us difficult situations daily. But for myself, I actually put myself in a difficult situation, which was no eating for 48 hours. And for me, my biggest fear, or the biggest stressors for me, is getting hungry and being tired. You do not want to be around me. I would steamroll folk to make sure that I ate, because if I'm hungry, I had the thought and belief that I couldn't operate. And so I put myself in this situation, and I started to feel angry, and I started to feel anxious, nervous, and I practiced staying in the F1 driver's brain, and I started to keep calm, and I started to reframe. I started to, every time I had those feelings, I'd do 10 press-ups, use exercise. I'd play the music that helps me get in a good mood. But most of all, which is where our next module moves into, is we have mental triggers which causes us to flick into stress response quicker. And once we remove those mental triggers, then we're able to withstand and recover quicker. And if not, we're able to withstand longer under more difficult situations. And that's where we ultimately want to get to. Okay, so as you go through this program and this journey, some of the content you may not have known about. So you're starting off at that red level, unconsciously incompetent. So you didn't know about what you didn't know about. All right, that was the blind spot, didn't even know it was there. Now we've got some awareness now, so I'm conscious of it, but I'm not good at it yet. And we want to get you through over the next few weeks, few modules, to becoming, I know it and now I'm good at it. And then ultimately over time, it's just automatic. It's like driving a car. You don't even have to think about it. Now imagine that for a moment. Imagine being able to stay in your F1 driver's brain without even thinking about it. Stressors are coming at you. Difficult situations are coming at you daily. Your kids are vomiting and diarrheaing. You burnt the dinner in the oven. Visitors are coming over. Imagine just being able to manage those situations like Karate Kid. That's the destination we want to get to. So this week's task is just to analyze yourself and notice, just notice how you react to events. What brain are you going to? Think about how long you might spend in that brain. Feel yourself getting angry, sad, mad. And take note of the instances. So you're going to have a spreadsheet template here to fill out to help you track those incidents, events, and feelings, and notice which brain that you spend most of your time in. So that's week one. Go forth and analyze yourself. Treat it as a scientist. You're watching yourself, you're noticing, and you're looking down on yourself, saying, how am I as a human being behaving? All right, look forward to next week, session number 2.